Russia has said if drones strike deep into Russia, then Kiev will be wiped out. Well, that has happened. Yesterday, that is Sunday, the 17th of May, 500 or more drones struck Moscow. And Russia retaliated the same day. But this brings us to another question. Russia's policy, which was promulgated in 2025 and advanced by the master of Russia's nuclear program, Sergei Karaganov, he promulgated this policy, and that is, if a nuclear weapons state provide nuclear capacity to a non-nuclear state, and they use that to strike deep into Russia, then Russia will not hesitate to use nuclear capabilities to attack those countries. Now, Ukraine used the missiles, which together with the technology from Germany and Britain, the UK, in this attack. So the implication of that is that Russia would be entitled by its own policy to retaliate using nuclear strength against Ukraine, Germany, and the UK. So while it is believed that that is not what Putin will do, and Russia has no need to do that because its originatives, they have been used, have a devastating capability, and only single oreshniks have been used, not multiple oreshniks. Multiple oreshniks can be devastating and bring destruction to parts of cities and to cities. So there is no need for nuclear weapons to be used. This is the ridiculousness of the situation, where there's a clear policy which has been stated. Do not strike Russia because this is what it says it will do. This is what Europe has done. So we stand on the brink, the world stands on the brink of watching what is going to unfold in that area, in Ukraine, in Russia, and in Europe. And Karaganov have said that a message needs to be sent to Europe. And once this message has been sent, then it is not a lose-lose situation, as is how nuclear deterrence works. So this is something that is that we are now. This is where we are on this stage of warfare. At the same time, there is in the Middle East, there have been two strikes or two events at nuclear stations. One has been in the UAE, which has been hit by drones, and the other was in Israel. Israel first said that this was itself combusted, like on its own, something happened and it combusted, and a huge mushroom flame was observed. And that was, the news was that kind of happened by some kind of accident without anybody pressing a button. But just recently now, a few hours ago, they've said no, it was an Iran missile. So those are two major events that has taken place in the Middle East. Also, a US MQ-9 Reaper drone was shot down by Iran. And there is a huge value to this, but all of the destruction on US weaponry has been huge. All is in the millions because, like I said in previous episodes, that is the value of the weapons that America uses. Unlike the Shahid drones and other drones which are much cheaper. The United States always use these kind of heavy equipment that takes a long time to build and is really expensive. So in the last podcast, I, together with many other commentators, has said this kind of escalator has kind of come to an end because it's not going to go to nuclear. If it goes to nuclear, Iran has nuclear capabilities by virtue of its strategic agreements with Russia and North Korea. If it has that nuclear capability, then it's the same as the United States nuclear capability. So if one attacks, if United States use nuclear on Iran, it retaliates, and then it's just end of life as we know it in both regions. So that seemed as if it's going to go nowhere. Then the blockade at the Gulf states. We've already had a discussion about that, and the United States just doesn't have that many warships to be able to place at various parts of the ocean, bearing in mind that the circumference of this line of American warships needs to be 3,000 kilometers, because that is the reach of the missiles. So there's not enough. You can't even see one US warship from the next one, so that it doesn't have the capability. So that is why no matter what United States has done, the actual physical control of the Strait of Hormuz in the Gulf area is in the control of Iran. So all the bluster about we have destroyed the Navy, we have destroyed this, we have destroyed. If you have destroyed it, why can't you just go in and take control? You can't, because it is not destroyed. So we've also had the boots on the ground discussion, where the boots on the ground faces exactly those same obstacles. The fact that you're sitting target, how will the plane land, where will it drop off the soldiers? And so that has been a no-go as well. We've also had the discussion about airstrikes, and 45 and now the 46th aircraft of the United States has been destroyed by Iran. So, but yet the United States threatens Iran and saying they will be back. And that also brings us to the next question, and it also vindicates the argument that the ceasefire was only to restock, replenish, and refit weaponry. It was not for anything else. So that is the situation in the Middle East. Then you have Venezuela. Venezuela also, big eruption in an oil field there. Again, they're saying self-combustion. Self-combustion, what does it mean? How does oil fields and oil refineries, and this, by the way, has been happening all over the world, just get set alight, just comes alight for no reason except that saying it's combustible. So that's the one situation there. And the other situation has been in Cuba. United States says that Cuba has 300 drones, and the 300 drones are destined to attack Florida. Well, the Cubans say it's lies. They don't have that. And I think the facts support Cuba. I mean, Cuba can't even keep its electricity on. People don't have food. They are choked to a point of existence. It's really existential. Ordinary things like electricity, food, and medical treatment, etc., are the problems that Cuba faces. So this is seen, and this is viewed by so many commentators, that this is just a false flag where United States, as always, Trump being the master of deception, is to, cause you to face in one direction and then he hits you on the other. So an invasion of Cuba is expected, and we just have to watch the horizons and see what happens. Then you have the trip to China. Trump went with a plane load of billionaires to China, and whatever he wanted from that trip must be said to have been unsuccessful. And one just has to read between the lines and read, how the trip went. He went with the billionaires with the intention of deals, or who knows why he chose billionaires and not elected representatives to go. Well, it's the same way he uses Jared Kushner and Steve Woodcock in negotiations, who are not elected representatives. One is his son-in-law and the other is a property developer. Well, we don't know why, and it is speculation that it is Netanyahu who have chosen those two. So anyway, this whole team went to China. Trump, again, he cannot do otherwise beside boast of what the achievements have been. And he's basically said that US secured a contract for the supply of 200 Boeing aircrafts. Now, previously China had agreed and entered into agreement to purchase 500 Boeings, and then came the tariffs, etc. So if they now say 200 Boeings, it isn't really an achievement. In fact, that's a reduction in the order. And knowing China, who knows whether that was just kind of something that was just discussed and not formalized, because China then subsequently did buy the Boeing aircrafts from France. So that's the situation that's what happened regarding the sale of the aircrafts. Then Trump said that huge, wonderful agreements have been entered into for the sale of soya beans and other agricultural produce to China. Well, how nice. And the reason I say how nice is because where's the produce going to come from? There's no fertilizer. So if there's no fertilizer, the farmers don't have fertilizer, they're not growing anything, so there will be no delivery and no conclusion of that deal. So this really comes down to nothing. China didn't give way and didn't agree to assist the United States with regard to the Hormuz Strait. Well, how can anyone view anything in a way other than to be cynical of anything being possible between China and America? I think that everybody knows that in the past two election campaigns of Trump, he has campaigned heavily against China. And what did he say about China? He says China is our biggest enemy. China is raping our economy. China is stealing our jobs. China is a cause of COVID-19. In fact, he uses a word called the Kung flu for the COVID, because he holds China responsible for that. So he created China as the main villain of America in his election campaign. Even said China took their hamburgers. So that is what he said about China, and he thinks that China does not remember anything that he said. He also attacked China for their role in solar panels, wind turbines, and alternative energies. And his campaign was centered around drill, baby, drill. He said fossil fuels and oil, that is the way forward. But he didn't just say that is the way forward. He attacked China for what China was, for their role in the manufacture of those items. So this is where this is a background to Trump going to China. He goes to China, having already committed all these terrible insults to China, and then expects some kind of cooperation with China. And then he says, and that is why no one's going to trust him, because how are you going to say one thing about China and then another thing another day? He says, Xi Jinping is my friend. We have excellent relations, and we're going to have even better relations. None of this makes sense. So, and it brings us back to the fact that America is agreement incapable. Agreement incapable. It is not to be. It has lost all respect or all regard in the world. How does Taiwan, Japan, the UAE, and the Gulf countries, which had so much of trust and faith in America, trust him? Because you just have to look at his conduct with China and look at the conduct with them, with those countries themselves. They were the first to lose their radar detection systems to Israel. So, and even the Gulf countries can see that he ran first to Israel's defense rather than to theirs, and ended up being no defense at all to them, and broke those agreements. So it's a time then we all need to be careful. We all need to watch out for. Europe must be on high alert, and so must Cuba, and so is Iran. Iran has said it's ready, and no doubt Iran did not believe a word about the ceasefire, and surely their intelligence has led them to the conclusion that the ceasefire was not really real. It was just for refurbish, refit, and replenish.